to Pokercast. I'm your host, A. Schwartz, alongside Roscoe P. Coltrane.
I'm never ready.
Ready, man. I do it every time.
Yeah, because this will be the first time he introduced you on the show. Yeah. Too late.
And that's Mr. T. Chan as well. Pokercast 423. It is August 19th. I believe it's a Friday. I lose track of days sometimes. Another show coming at you. This is like our third show in 7 days. We're doing these shorter shows. Not sure how we haven't got a ton of feedback yet on how people feel about these, T.
That's true, but we enjoy doing them. I certainly feel a lot fresher not having to get through that 3-hour grind. You know, we had Kate on Wednesday. We had a little conversation with her. Now we'll catch you up with what's going down since last Saturday. I like the format, and we can be pretty responsive and keep our energy levels up. And I'm happy with this. So, you know, and especially on a day like today. I mean, I don't know what it looks like over there in Maple Ridge, but outside downtown Vancouver, it's a gorgeous Vancouver day. We got 26 of your loveliest Celsius degrees on here. It'll be nice to finish this up, you know, go for a little stroll outside and hang out in. By the way, Adam, did you see The Economist just released the world's most livable cities, like you do every year?
I mean, we're always top 3.
Yeah, we are exactly number 3 this year. Got notched by Melbourne and Vienna, and but right behind us. But most important, doesn't matter. We can lose to Melbourne, we can lose to Vienna. I've been to Melbourne, not Vienna, so I mean, I'm sure it's great. But number 4, Toronto, our hated rivals. We notched them. Calgary at number 5, tied with Adelaide. Calgary tied with Adelaide, Australia. Then Perth, Auckland, Helsinki, and Hamburg. So Australia and Canada dominating the top 10 Economist livability thing. What you're shocked at Toronto?
What was the highest rated American city?
That is a good question. I am going to stall while I try to look up that answer because it's decently far. So like The Economist does the thing where like they make you sign up, you know, to like get the full list, and they always they always hide the like 35th place and whatever like that. I don't know. I'm gonna have to get back to you on that one.
Okay.
I can't. My
Google's
not getting
putting you on the spot.
No, that's fine. They're hiding it behind the paywall. So yeah, the U.S. You know, you guys are killing it in the medal counts, but not so much in the livable cities.
Okay, let's talk about the Olympics for a second. I want to talk about GTO lying. Because I don't know if you guys followed this story, but the rest of the world does. I don't know how much you guys do, but Ryan Lochte, who is one of the anchors or one of the main guys on the U.S. Olympic swimming team, was caught in a pretty big lie. And what happened was, for those that didn't see this, and I can't imagine there's too many of you, but he made up a story, or him and his guys made up a story about being in a taxi, coming home from a party at 6 a.m, and stopping at a gas station and getting robbed at gunpoint. And to deflect from and it's turned out that they were lying about this, getting robbed at gunpoint, and they had actually kicked a door in a bathroom, paid the gas station guy to keep it quiet, whatever. And they decided to make this lie up to, I don't know, muddy the waters or whatever they're doing. But did you guys see this?
I mean, I have Twitter, so I hear about these things. So I actually like actively go out of my way to avoid like celebrity gossip. So I know Ryan Lochte is a human, all of the things you just described, but I don't have anything on that.
Okay, so he goes to make up this story about being robbed, but not only does he just say, hey, yeah, we were 4 guys in a taxi, a guy came up to us and said, give us your, wallets, whatever. He made it sound like he was like, I don't know, like Indiana Jones, and he stood up and the guy was like, I'm not lying down on the ground. This is what Ryan said. I said, I'm not lying down on the ground. I didn't do anything wrong. And a guy points a gun at my head and I throw my hands up and say, what? Like, he made these details. First of all, if you're in the middle of Rio, the robber probably isn't going to be speaking English, right? So, there's so many things along his story that you just kind of go, if you're going to sit down and make up a lie, like at least do a decent job of it. I mean, the whole world is going to hear this lie. There are going to probably be some smart people out there trying to figure out exactly how this thing went down.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because like Brazil, I mean, obviously people have legitimately been robbed during the Rio Olympics. It's a big thing. I think I told you guys the story about like some thugs like tried to rob some Russian diplomat, and
Right.
the Russian being like a badass, like disarmed one of them, shot him with his own gun, and the other one took off, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like it's obviously a big problem. In fact, I've read articles that say like the real problem is, everybody's focused on Zika in Rio, but the big problem with Rio is the same problem they've always had. There's a lot of gun violence in there. So yeah, I mean, in that sense, it's I guess plausible.
I mean, they didn't take his cell phone. They had their credentials still. Like all these things, their watches were still. They had video of them after with their watches. I mean, come on, guys. Like, try a little harder to make something up, I guess is what I got a kick out of that anyway. Well, the other thing, T, there was some talk in the thread about more people wanting to hear about your training. So we've been a couple of days since we did Kate Hall. I don't think we talked a ton about it, but what phase are you in right now as far as, I know you're cutting weight, you need to get down, but what are you doing as far as training? Are you working on maybe perceived weaknesses of yourself or your opponent? What kind of stuff are you doing now in the gym?
Well, I'm not cutting weight quite yet, like cutting weight in the sense. So I woke up this morning at 141, and I have to be at 125 in 27 days. So the fight's on the 17th of September. Today's the 19th of August. So I'm sort of like I'm not eating. I'm keeping the diet tight, but I'm not actually losing weight. So the next kind of 2 or 3 weeks will be the hard week. So generally for a training camp, you want to ramp up, so that your second to last week before the fight is the hardest. So the second to last week is the week where you're going real hard, and guys are pushing you to the limit. You got a new fresh guy every day. And then the last week, you're just focused on your weight cut, getting your mind right, and just kind of give your body a break. And the idea is that 7 to 10 days is a good amount of time to recover for a competition. So we're training pretty hard right now. Next week's going to be even harder. I'm mostly focused on me. I'm not worried too much about my opponent. Sort of, taking the GTO attitude, like the better I do, the better I just become as a fighter, the harder it is to beat, like whether it's striking or grappling or wrestling or whatever it is. I'm just trying to get better, but we're getting lots of hard rounds in against guys, and the main challenge at this point is pushing really hard and not getting injured. That's the thing, because when you're wrestling, like legs get twisted under each other, you're punching dudes in the face. If you drop your hands and a guy kicks you in the head, then that can give you a concussion, and you don't want to be, if you're gonna get a concussion, you should get the concussion. You don't want to get a concussion, but you should get it in the fight instead of in training.
Do you think it's possible that your opponent is training as hard as you are for the next few weeks? Like, he's obviously training, but I find it hard to believe that he would be training as much as you are.
So I think I want to say that it's possible he's training harder, but or training but I'm always training. Like, I feel like my day is always training.
Right.
Training doesn't always mean like I'm just gonna go in and jump a guy and we're gonna hit each other, or I'm gonna like smash the bag or whatever. Like, training could just be like working on mobility, or like some people like to do yoga and like just go running and stuff like that. I don't think that there's any way he's training that much. I mean, I have a bunch of advantages too, right? Like, I don't have to work a 9 to 5. So, right. I most people do at this level because we're not professional fighters in the sense that we like, make a good living. We're not Conor McGregor's, right? Like, we just get millions from fighting and stuff. So I think I have that advantage. So I think it's unlikely he's training as hard as me, but I think what I've noticed in every MMA gym is like dudes train really hard. Like, the guys who fight, they train really hard. They don't necessarily always train like the smartest, right? Like, so, I talked about the second to last week being the hardest. Like, that's the one where you want to ramp up and really just let it all hang out there. If you do that, like, kind of try to do that for like 6 weeks straight, you're going to get injured. You're going to get sick. Like, your immune system just won't take it. Like, so you can't go like 100% for 8 weeks of training camp. But so I would say that yeah, it's possible that the other guy or just people in general train harder than me, but I don't think too many of them train that much smarter than me and are able to put in a lot of hours doing the really boring shit, like just doing the stretching and doing the exercise and doing like just going on the pads and finding a partner and just kind of practicing your 1, 2, 3 kind of stuff.
Cool.
If you had to assign a percentage of how much better a fighter you're going to be, 27 days from now than right now? Like all this training, what's this training between now and the fight going to do for you? Like, are you going to be 3% better than you were? Do you think? Like, just if you had to guess.
Yeah, that's hard. I don't know. So you're saying like the guy who shows up on fight night, if he were to fight like the guy that's talking to you right now?
Yes, exactly.
I mean, I feel like that guy would be a pretty good favorite because he'll just be in better physical shape.
He would be lighter.
He'll
you have a weight advantage.
He will be lighter. Maybe maybe the fat Terrence can just lay on him. No, I mean,
no
I
such
think
thing as fat Terrence.
There's no such thing as fat Terrence.
I think you do. Most of it is actually, so a lot of it is getting in cardio shape. There's not, you can only get in that much better shape in the next 3 weeks. So maybe you can get like 5% better in terms of like physically, like how much harder could I push? But I think like mentally I could get like 50% better, right? So just doing things like, okay, not dropping my left hand when I throw a right? Like, no, or the other way around. Like just remembering when you're close enough to get hit to move your head. That's like striking 101, right? Like if you're in hitting distance, you have to be moving your head, and that's just a rule. But sometimes you get tired and you forget to do that. So that's the kind of stuff that'll show up like 3 weeks from now. That I might have like a B+ today, but like it should be, at least in theory, an A+ on fight night. On the other hand, the guy that you're talking to right now has no injuries, like, you know, no major injuries. Like I'm healthy. Like, so I don't know, like I could go in on say, September 1st, right? 15 days before the fight. Maybe like I hurt my knee and then I recover enough to sort of be good enough to fight, but not good enough to be at 100%. So, you know, it's an interesting thing. If you ran it 100 times, I don't know which guy would win because, the guy 3 weeks from now, me is going to be in much better shape physically and mentally, but he also might have some injuries.
Do you fight less, or it seems like you fight less often than maybe a lot of the guys? Like you're taking it as it's a very serious hobby, but you're presumably
that's mostly size. Like it's really hard to find other guys at 125.
Oh, I see.
And so I think most of the fights that you've been to, I fought somebody at 135, and you know, they stand next to me and they're bigger, and so I've often like taken fights up just to get fights. But the fact of the matter is, there just aren't that many people my size, which, you know, you kind of know. Like I'm a small guy, and then you need small guys my size who are also skilled and know what they're doing. So I think that's fun. I would love to fight. Like I've asked for a fight. After this one, so if you know, there's I think an October card too, and I said, like, you know, not want to look past this guy, but if I get past this guy and you know, injury free, and I get through this camp injury free, then I'll jump in the next one too. So I would love to fight like back-to-back months.
Yeah, like you could 3 weeks apart, you could do a fight if presumably you have no injuries.
Yeah, I mean 3 weeks is an idea. I think 4 weeks is really good because I could give myself like a week to heal, and then do 2 more hard weeks, and then 1 more week of recovering again. But I've done it before. I did it in you know, in my amateur days. I fought in Hong Kong. I fought in like Korea, and then I fought in Hong Kong like 10 days later or something like that. Quite a quick turnaround because there was like an injury. So yeah, I would love to do it, but it's just a matter of there's only, you know, you're looking at the population of 125-pound fighters in Western Canada that are appropriately skilled, and there's just that many of them.
Okay, cool. Well, if anybody out there wants to ask T any training,
I thought you were going to say if anybody wants to fight Terrence.
Please send us an email.
Throw them in the chat, throw them in the thread over at our forum at Pokercast at 2+2. Quick thing, I want a hat tip to Canada's, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinion, Canada's greatest band. I'm sad. I should be on a plane right now flying to Kingston for the Tragically Hip's final show. Of course, Gord Downey was diagnosed with brain cancer, and they did one last tour. I was out of town for the Vancouver shows, unfortunately, on our golf trip, but and I wanted to. I was constantly checking like Aeroplan or, you know, for cheap flights from here to Toronto, and so I could get to that Kingston gig, but it didn't turn out, unfortunately. Anybody who's going, I'm super jealous of you, and anybody who saw one of the shows in the final tour, but very, very sad and to be losing our greatest band. I don't know, you guys probably aren't big fans of the
I am actually. I wanted to mention an event to you that maybe you and MJ would be interested in. My friends are. There's a place, the Astoria. It's like an older bar hotel.
Sure, I know the Astoria. Yeah.
What my friends are doing is they're doing a live stream of the final concert, and then they're playing in a Tragically Hip cover band, and then they're doing Tragically Hip karaoke afterwards.
Wow, that sounds awesome. I'm definitely going to go to that. Mike's going to Band of Horses that night, I think, too. So he'll be busy, but I'd love to go to that. Yeah, that would be fun.
All right, we'll talk about it later.
Cool. One other quick. So we were talking about my speeding and stuff lately, but yesterday I'm driving my kids home from the rink, and I look in the mirror and I find myself driving pretty fast again. I guess it's just kind of, it wears off. Like I can't take it. I can't drive the speed limit. I don't know why. Whatever. But I look in the mirror and there's an ambulance behind me, and but it's a fair distance, away. Maybe like, I don't know, 3/4 of a kilometer or something. But there's no cars in between. They've all pulled over, and I'm thinking, well, when it gets close, because there's, maybe it's going to turn soon, whatever. Maybe when it gets close, I'll just pull over, or to keep out of its way. It never got close. It's just like cruising along. Ambulance just kind of stayed there. So I got to slow down again, man. I'm going to get another ticket.
Yeah, I think I mentioned this on the show before. I was driving in Las Vegas this summer. The number of ambulances that whipped by me in Las Vegas this year was alarming. It made me think, like, man, there's just an emergency every second in this town. And I'm not talking about, like, Friday night. I'm talking about, like, Thursday at, like, 11 in the morning. Like, what's going on?
Okay, cool. Today we've got Brian Slick from Pokerstars. He's the MTT guru over there. He's going to join us and talk about the 2016 World Championship of Online Poker schedule. It has been released. There's a lot of interesting stuff that has come down that's going to be out there for this series. So we're going to talk to him about some of that in about half an hour, I believe. But let's get to some in case you missed it.
How did he miss the open goal? 6x4, and he comes up 0.
He missed it.
He's missed it! How on earth did he miss that?
In case you missed it, Sorel Mizzi has been banned from Pokerstars for 2 years, I believe, for multi-accounting and using a VPN. Sorel was on Joey's podcast, confirmed that he'd been banned, he said, for a couple of years for both of those offenses. And it's Joey does really in-depth long interviews if you've ever watched his show, and they're really good. Head on over there if you want to get in-depth on listening to what Sorel had to say. Typically, first of all, Sorel has been surrounded by controversy his whole career. He's been banned from stars before. Lots of shady things that have come to light in different instances. There's a thread in NVG and 2+2 if you want to read all about them. But suffice to say that he's.
Is there a thread that summarizes everything that Sorel Mizzi has been in trouble for?
Yeah.
Because I think there needs to actually at this stage be, because it's lengthy. I mean, I guess his Wikipedia has some of it, but I'm just like, this guy. I don't, and I'm sorry I cut you off real quick, but sure. I mean, it's like you said, it's followed him his whole career, and it's the guy where he. He's an intelligent guy, clearly. He's not an unlikable guy, right? So, like, I've played with him a bunch of times. When we have conversations, it's nice. Like, I think, like, if he didn't have the reputation he has and he hadn't done the things that he'd done, and you asked me, like, hey, Terrence, what's your opinion of Sorel Mizzi? I'd be like, yeah, he's a good guy. Seems like a good guy. Like, there's nothing, I don't know what the word about it, there's nothing antisocial about him. He's not one of these guys who just is like, yeah, I don't give a fuck. I hate you all. Like, he just,
like Joe McKeon, maybe, like that. You can see
where. Well, I mean, Joe McKeon.
Not that Joe's ever done it. I don't want to put him in a category of stuff he's done, that kind of stuff. But he's just antisocial generally, doesn't care. You know what I mean? Like Sorel, I agree with you. He comes across as a guy who's well-spoken. You can talk to him. He's social, that kind of thing. But if you watch this,
I think of a guy. Yeah, I think of like a JJ Prodigy, right? Like who just this was like a don't give a shit kind of guy. But I mean, but it also isn't one of these cases where you're talking about something like that. It happened so long ago. Oh, like, okay, he was 18 when the first thing happened and is a clean slate since. Like Justin Bonomo is the sort of the
Right.
like if you were to choose a poster boy for somebody who's having fucked up at a young age and just was squeaky clean since then. Justin Bonomo, I think, is the guy that you would look to. But with Sorel, it's like I can't even remember all the stuff that he's done, and it's so constant, and it shows up like what so. I don't get it. He really does. He used you were going to mention on the Joey podcast, I'm sure, the phrase that he used, which is that what is the exact word? I create my own moral universe, and he really does. I can't think of a better way to put it than the way he puts it himself. I create my own moral universe. He doesn't feel the need to abide by the morals and the ethics that are established in the community that he exists in, that he's been a part of for, I don't know, like at least 10 years. And he's just gonna be a cowboy, and he's just gonna be out there and be on his own. And I don't get it with him, because he's not dumb, and he's not like a sociopath. Like, I don't expect him to go out and like do really horrible things. I don't think he spends his time torturing animals or something like that. But why can't this guy just play by the rules that everybody else plays by?
Yeah, and if you watch that video, he'll be talking about all the, he'll justify what he did by saying it's not as bad as this, or somebody's doing this, or somebody's doing that, whatever. Instead of owning it, and you mentioned Justin Bonomo, and Justin owned what he did. And, it didn't happen overnight that he got to be well respected in the community again. It took a long time of him.
Even to this day, people will take shots at him multi-accounting on Party, and he just realizes that's okay. That's something I have to deal with. That's not who I am now. But people are going to take shots at me. Yeah,
and Sorel doesn't seem to have quite that kind of contrition. He admits what he did was wrong, but he just says, I did it. That's the way I did it. And
what he's doing is wrong. I mean, I don't know if it gets into. He admits that he was doing. I think he said, like, I admit that I was doing something shady, or that, like, whatever. I don't think he actually thinks he was wrong in any way. That and I'll be perfectly clear. I mean, I think like VPNing into stars on the sort of the list of poker crimes that you can commit, like, it's pretty far down, because the fact of the matter is, like, you can make the argument that the United States' ridiculous laws against online poker and its ridiculous policy towards online poker is the kind of the true crime, right? And that VPNing in is, I don't want to say victimless, but it's hard.
I look at it differently. I understand what you're saying, but there's also, and if it was in a vacuum and this person was VPNing and it didn't affect anybody, or there was no other ramifications at all, I would agree with you. However, a lot of people pick up and move to other countries, and that's a big deal. Like, people have kids and lives and stuff, and they pick up to conform with the terms of service of PokerStars. They'll make a giant move under great expense too. Like, it's not both financial and in personal expense to move. And the person who's VPNing in is basically giving them the finger and saying, you're an idiot.
I get that, but it's also, you can say the person from, Indiana or whatever had to go pick up and move to Toronto, and that's a significant hardship because you have to spend money and lose your ties to all that. But there are hundreds of you could have just been born in Ireland or Canada or Australia or wherever, all these places that you play on stars, like, and the fact is, like, Americans have the right to be jealous of non-Americans in that specific regard, and they have a right to be angry at the people who choose to live in the US and VPN. But I still don't, I mean, it's really doesn't harm, like, other people, right? And so, I mean, it's not truly victimless, but I mean, it really, you're not really actually harming people in the way that colluding or card sharing or multi-accounting a tournament even, or something like that. Like, that's we've had this discussion before, and I know we don't quite agree on it, but but the fact of the matter is, like, you should shouldn't play on Stars. It's not a good idea. I mean, Stars is
Well, you're risking
obviously,
your balance, or you're risking your account playing on there.
and Stars is obviously pretty good at figuring this stuff out. And you
I
should
wonder
do
how
it. I
good
mean,
they are. That's an interesting statement because, yeah, Sorel got caught. We don't really hear of a lot of people who have been caught for this. We hear rumors that tons of people are doing it. To the point where I just tell people, like, I don't want to know. Like, don't tell me if you're doing it or whatever. Like, if I have friends,
okay.
I don't want to know. Just please don't tell me, because I don't want to be put in a situation of having to ever talk about whatever, right? So, but are they good at catching people?
I mean, I don't. How did it come to light that Sorel was caught? Do you know this?
There was a no, I don't. There was a rumors going around, and there were rumors going around, and then Joey had been asking Sorel to go on the show for a while, and he finally did, and then Joey asked him. So that's basically how it came out, rumors, and then he was confronted with it.
Okay, so there was never, like, I mean, obviously, like, PokerStars is not going to release like a
don't
press
announce.
something
Yeah.
like that. So I mean, the thing is that, yeah, we don't know how good they are, but they're probably catching people who are less famous. I mean, Sorel is one of the most famous poker players in the world.
Well, that's important. Like, I wonder how much, like, if you just take a look at the stance from PokerStars, they can't let somebody who's famous get away with it if the rumors are out there and people know about it. Could they let somebody who wasn't famous get away with it, or do they care less? Because clearly, they're a company in their own interests, and they're getting paid by an extra player.
It could be taken off things could happen in a number of different ways, right? So if you're famous and you're well known in the poker community, and you're not really good at keeping your mouth shut,
Right.
like you said, like, don't tell me about this, then the chances get exponentially higher, because if you just happen to tell the one wrong guy and that guy reports it to Stars, then Stars clearly is going to look into it. Whereas if you're some hermit and, like, you literally have zero poker friends and, like, all you do is grind internet poker from, your house in Oregon or whatever, like, then are you much less likely to get caught? Probably, because you don't talk to anybody. You don't when you make a score in a big MTT, you're just like, oh, I'll hit the withdraw button and put it in my bank. You don't go out and tell your buddies, like, hey, I just banked this thing. So I mean,
so Stars will tell you that they actively try and catch these people, but to some degree. But how much?
I would yeah, like, you have to put yourself.
How hard would I try?
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't. Like, I mean, I'm being perfectly honest, but I mean, I don't, because that's my moral universe, I guess, to use the terminology. Like, if I'm PokerStars, my concern with people VPNing is my own legal trouble, and beyond that, I don't give two Fs. Like, it's just like, I think it's an unjust law. I think it's ridiculous. It's like people smoking marijuana in their own house, right? It's like, you could live in a state where marijuana is criminally illegal. Okay, so but you're a cop. Let's say you're a cop. Do you go door to door looking for people to bust for smoking marijuana in your own state if you don't believe that marijuana should be criminal? Of course you don't. If somebody some guy comes in and while you're on shift and said that guy's smoking marijuana, you got to knock down his door. You're like, well, okay, fine. Well, that's my job. I guess I have to do it. But are you actually gonna proactively go after some guy smoking a joint in his house? Probably not, right?
So, yeah, back to Sorel. This was his quote. Do I feel terribly guilty about doing this? To be honest, no, not really. And, the VPNing, to whatever degree you think that's bad, but it's also multi-accounting. And that's clearly something you can't do at this day and age in online poker. That's widely looked upon with scorn. So, that he doesn't feel any guilt at all about multi-counting and playing against his. He made a final table with a friend of his and basically pretended to be somebody else. So is, that, and then, the moral, I create my own moral universe quote.
Right. In what moral universe is that justified?
Right. We talked about Brian Hastings, last year doing stuff like this. He was universally vilified for it, and ostracized to some degree. But Sorel just keeps on doing it. Another interesting thing is he's a member of the GPL. He's on the Berlin Bears, right? He's playing in this league, and Alex Dreyfus now is put in a situation where he's got to kind of think about what he wants to do, given that this is.
It's the first GPL suspension. How fun! Like a real sports league.
Is this GPL like equivalent to NFL domestic abuse?
Yeah, exactly. They're going to have like a online ethics policy or whatever. Like, yeah, like that. What's the even the WWE, like pro wrestling, they have like like they have like an ethics and whatever policy. So yeah, I mean, I would imagine that. I mean, I don't know. We'd have to ask Alex. I don't want to speculate too much, but I would have to. And he would be not very happy with it. Alex is Mr. Squeaky Clean. Poker is a great game of competition and skill, and it's not about hustlers and grinders. It's about the thrill of competition and blah blah blah. So I have to imagine it'll actually be fun. I'm like just because it's a silly thing in the GPL at the stage is still sort of a gimmick. Sorry, Alex, if you're out there listening, but it's still not like a big. It's not the NFL. I think it's safe to say.
I don't think he's going to be upset.
The GPL. The GPL's first suspension, first violation of policy or something like that.
Isn't Sorel Canadian as well? So what? Like,
he is Canadian.
Why does he?
He lives in Vegas like a lot of the year, I think.
Okay.
All right, let's move on. In case you missed it, have you guys been watching the Olympics much? There's these famous scenes of Michael Phelps before his races. One of them was he had a hoodie over him and he was staring at his opponent like he was going to kill him. There was a whole meme around it. Phelps death face kind of thing.
I can't say I watch a lot of swimming. It's just not my thing. I mean, I've been watching a lot of women's wrestling the last few days. My friend yeah, exactly. We got a gold medal, our second gold medal, women's Olympic wrestling. So
nice.
Yeah, shout out to Erica Weeb. Because she knows a lot of those girls on that team, being a former wrestler herself.
Oh, sure.
So I haven't watched the Phelps, but I did see a Facebook post from our friend Eric Dieppe, whose offices we used to we once podcasted out of, and he was like, so I noticed that like my downloads for the Pineapple app were about 10 times greater than they normally are today, and the reason is because go ahead.
Because Michael Phelps was apparently playing Pineapple OFC while you sit in that little area just before you swim in one of the events. He's sitting there with his phone. He's got his hoodie over his head, and he's hammering away in the OFC. And I guess maybe it helps him relax, or he uses it for that kind of thing. But just hilarious.
The rest of us.
Yeah, I thought that was funny, and I actually texted Sean Deeb to see if maybe he was playing Sean like. Did you have him stuck or something before he swam the final? But that was pretty interesting. In case you missed it, for the first time in a long time, PokerStars has a live tournament series on U.S. soil. Remember back, I think the last one I want to say, guys, was the NAPT in Los Angeles. That's a total guess. But I don't think there's been anything since then for as far as PokerStars live tournaments. Now that they are regulated in New Jersey, there's going to be a series, and it's going to run alongside the November 9, or at the same time. Sorry, obviously different states, but at the same time, the series is going to be at the Resorts Casino in New Jersey. If you're on the East Coast and you want to hit up a PokerStars live event, head on over to New Jersey.
The casino is called Resorts
International.
Resort.
Yeah. Don't you remember this from being in the news when they bought them trying to to get their license initially? The Blast NAPT was I was pretty sure, I didn't want to say before I confirmed, was at the Mohegan Sun in 2011, won by Vanessa Selbst, who I think was not a Stars Pro at that time and subsequently became a Stars Pro after. I could be wrong about that one. The date on that particular tournament, it ended April 13, 2011.
So more than 5 years ago.
But more notably, 2 days before what?
Oh, Black Friday.
Yes. So that's why there hasn't been an event on PokerStars. Literally, I mean, if you're Vanessa Selbst, that timing probably couldn't have gotten any better, because it literally ends 2 days before, of course, the biggest event in online poker history. 5 years.
Well, and speaking of PokerStars live events, the EPT this week announced that this, in their 13th season, they've moved to pay 20% of the field at all events.
A bit of a shitstorm around that one, for sure.
Yeah, you'll remember in Season 6, Stars went from 10% to 15% of the field. And then, almost all live events now are 15% of the field. Even the World Series of Poker this year moved to pay 15% of the field. I think that's pretty much the standard now. In Season 13, now Stars moving to 20%. This seems like a sort of a move to, in the continuing effort to keep recreational players in money, in cashing in events, enjoying themselves, playing these things. There's this thought of, the smaller that you pay the field, the less fun they're going to have because they're going to bust and bust and bust and never cash. I was.
I don't even know about fun, but it might just be purely economic reasons.
Or economic, yeah.
Wind it a cycle, as opposed to fun. But yeah, I mean it'd be shocking if the thought process was anything other than that. Then let's pay as many people as possible so that we keep people less cash poor.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's some sort of data that says, more people cash, more they play tournaments, the more rate gets collected by the site, and I'm sure that's a consideration. But it got me to thinking that there's an optimal level, right, somewhere. I mean, how do we find that or how does PokerStars find that optimal level? Is jumping from 15 to 20? Is that too big of a jump? Where are we headed with that, I guess is the question.
I mean, in theory, you could simulate what level does this, but what you can't simulate is the interest, the peak, right? So, I mean, remember when the World Series main event tried to do this thing? They wanted to do $10 million for first, and then they also wanted to do, pay 1,000 places, the very next year. And then they sort of said well, you guys hated it when we guaranteed 10 million first, and then you guys hated it when we paid 1,500 spots or 1,000 spots, and we're like, no, you guys are missing the point. We want it just to be a normal kind of what we consider to be a normal tournament structure, right? So it's not the easiest thing to sort of say if we pay more people, then the money will cycle through more frequently, because you're forgetting the fact that a lot of people are attracted to top 3 prize spots. And then when you're talking about big buy-in tournaments, the 5K, 10K, 50K that people sell off action for, that people invest in, then you've got this market where people are paying markup, and it's really hard for the investor to get a return on investment with markup when you've got these really small, when the cashes that you do make are very small. So, they've put a lot of, Stars is smart. They're a smart company. They got smart people there. They've put a lot of thought into it. But this is the first time I've seen a great deal of backlash towards it, and we'll sort of see. I'm very interested to see whether Neil and the other guys at the EPT, they back off of this in some way, or they stick to their guns. I don't know, because we've always sort of thought of the EPT. I don't know how you think of the EPT and PokerStars, whether you consider them to be run separately or whether you consider them, they're just both stars. I don't know what kind of thoughts you have on this, but my sort of thought, the way that I frame it in my head tends to be that the EPT is a little sort of like an independent arm of PokerStars, but I may be completely wrong about that. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I don't have a lot of information, but I guess my thought is I thought it was just too big of a jump to go from 15 to 20.
Oh, yeah.
As we approach, 10 to 15 was a big jump, but I think there was pretty widely thought that 10% was too small.
It didn't really go from 10 to 15, though, because,
that's true, yeah.
For long-time tournaments were 10, and then it was actually Stars that sort of started making it 12, 13%. Even there'd been experience. Remember when UB did their Aruba tournament? They paid 15%, and people lost their shit. The way that people are losing their shit now over this year's EPT, much of that happened originally with the UB Aruba, because they were trying to pay everybody, and you got people coming in for $200 satellites and all this kind of stuff. So, history has shown that there's, it's been creeping up. There's always outrage when it creeps up, but maybe this is just the latest outrage, and eventually it'll be 25%, 20% will just be the new norm. Who knows?
It might be. I just thought that as we approach, where maybe GTO lands somewhere, that the jump from 15 to 20 was too much. If you want to move to 20 and you want to go step by step, I think you could have done that.
If you want to boil a frog, you don't toss it immediately into the pot of water, right? You crank the heat up, a little bit of you put it up 1 degree at a time, right? That's the idea.
Is that an analogy? Boiling a frog? I've never heard the boiling a frog analogy.
Are you serious, Ross? Tell me you've heard this.
I've never heard that.
It sounds somewhat familiar, but I don't
It might be an old wives' tale, but the idea is like if you just have a boiling hot pot of water and you toss a frog in there, it'll just freak out and jump right back out immediately. But if you put a frog in room temperature water and then you turn the oven on low, it doesn't know it's getting hot, and it doesn't know it's getting hot, and then like by the time it realizes, hey, it's hot, I should get the hell out of here, it's already cooked. Yeah, that's you've never heard of boiling frog. I think you need to Google that on the break.
I'm gonna try and work that into my everyday conversation. Boiling the frog. Okay,
it's a fantastic metaphor.
So. You mentioned the backlash. A lot of people or a lot of pros, fair enough. They look at their bottom line, the immediate impact on the backing, their ROI, different things like that. But then I was thinking, yes, I think it's a big move. But if you take stars for why they're doing it, and it's going to create a healthy and much healthier environment for players. Maybe in the long run, this is better than paying 15% for those professional players. Some of their immediate ROI is gone, I guess, but maybe that keeps the games healthier for longer, brings more people to MTTs, all kinds of things. Do you think it's too hard for pros to kind of look to that long term past surviving for the next 6 months or whatever it is?
Yeah, well, I mean, pros are always going to advocate for things that are in their self-interest, right? And this is one of those things that's definitely not in their self-interest, unless you're Tony Cousineau or Chainsaw or somebody like that. If you're one of these elite level guys that has a legitimate shot of first, second, third in a given tournament, then you're not going to be happy with it. So. Yeah, I mean, I don't think they'll take the long view and say like, oh, this is actually good for poker long term, because I think poker pros are actually pretty adept at recognizing that. Like, for example, nobody freaks out about the World Series main event paying a lot of people, because people realize, okay, a lot of people are coming here for the experience. It's $10,000 buy-in, a lot of satellite winners, blah blah blah. But if you started doing stuff like this in the 5K 6 max at the World Series, you'd hear shitstorm about it. So I think poker players are kind of, they're smart, and they realize like what are the fields in which paying a lot of people makes sense and what are the fields in which it doesn't, right? So if you're talking about, I think Steve O'Dwyer Steve O'Dwyer had a tweet out there. I'm going to find it real quick here. He says, the payouts were just announced at 23% of the field, and no one is happy about it. It got like a zillion retweets and favorites. Why are you doing this in high rollers? Why are you paying 23% in a high roller? Again, who knows? Maybe down the road, 23% is the equilibrium the equilibrium point. But you got to boil that frog slowly.
Yeah. Wow, boiling frogs. So. A lot of outrage. You mentioned.
You tell him I'm hungry. I'm cutting weight. I'm talking about eating frogs.
Do you think this is going to have a big effect on the backing? I didn't even think of that actually until you mentioned it. The backing, market is, how much does it change?
You've got to reduce markup, right? Like, I mean, if you're paying like 1.2 for somebody to enter one of these tournaments, and the min cash is like, let's say the min cash is like
money back.
Is like 1.1. Like, you realize like this guy not only has to make the money, he has to like appreciably make the money, like make a couple of jumps for you just to get even. And then the incentives get all twisted up too for the backed player. I mean, you can just listen to the Andrew Barber episode from a few episodes back that we did talking about markup, where the incentives all get twisted up because these guys aren't incentivized correctly, like linearly, like the way that you should when you're playing a poker tournament to just maximize your own EV. So it has to reduce markups. Whether it makes it actually harder, well, I mean, this is a supply and demand thing, right? So if people are, if the players are going to insist on the same markup that they've always insisted on, their investors are too savvy. The investors are always generally smart people, and they'll go, no way, like it's going to be too hard for me to make under this current payout screen. The players are going to have to reduce their markup, or they're just not going to be playing in these tournaments.
All right, let's move on. In case you missed it, Doyle Brunson was targeted, he believes, by thieves in his neighborhood. One of his neighbors' house was robbed. The thief apparently told the victim that he knew he was a professional poker player, and that his cut was, well, after they figured out that who he wasn't, there wasn't Doyle. He said his cut was going to be $700,000 of the robbery, of the job.
Like Doyle just sitting around with 1.4 in his house.
He's got like 1.1 million sitting around in his place. The guy got $500, and
I guarantee you, if Doyle, and that's a pretty large if Doyle has 7 figures sitting in his house, most of it is going to be in chips.
Well, that's it. And I don't follow him on Twitter anymore, so I kind of missed this when he tweeted about it. But he was talking about.
Is it because of Trump?
No, it's a lot of things. I just I'm not. Anybody's listened to the show knows I'm not much of a Doyle fan, but yeah. So he basically tweeted out that, hey, you idiots, like you said, T, I've got a bunch of all my chips are at the Bellagio, and I don't have a ton of cash. This guy's been robbed like 5 times in his life. He knows what to do
on that,
to stop from being, have a lot of money taken from him. The guy's he's not an idiot. Went on to say that, he's got lots of guns, and if you come after him, he's 80 and doesn't give a shit anymore. You're going to get popped. So, yeah.
This, by the way, and I've said this on the show, this is why I don't like playing How Much You Got, because one of these days, one guy's going to have to answer 57,000 or something like that, and we're going to make a target out of this guy. And it's also the reason I don't talk about my personal life on the show or on Twitter or anything else. And I was Doyle. I would have lots of guns too. I know Todd is like a gun nut. Like I know he's like probably strapped all the time when you see him, and justifiably. If you're a famous person in poker, I mean, you gotta watch your back. It doesn't mean pack an M16 everywhere you go or anything like that, but yeah, I mean that's the thing. If I were Doyle and I was Doyle's level of fame and I was 80 years old, I'd have lots of guns too. Right, and I'd have those kind of guns where I'd have shotguns. I'd have guns where you don't really need good eyesight or mobility or strength, because you figure you're 80, he's probably not as good as a shot as he used to be. I would have things that I would. Oh man, actually, I'm starting to geek out on the amount of cool technological shit that I would have in my house if I was 80 years old and confined to a wheelchair or a scooter or whatever. I would be Mission Impossibling this.
So you have lots of guns. Do you think there's a scenario where you could kill somebody
in a heartbeat?
In a heartbeat, you would have no problem.
I don't think of myself as an evil person, but if somebody came into my house and threatened me or somebody I love, that person, and if I have my hand on the trigger, I mean, I think so. I don't know, right? I mean, people, I don't know. People freeze and stuff like that. I'm sure they freeze all the time, but if you give me an opportunity to put a bullet between somebody's eyes and they're threatening me or somebody that I care about, they're getting that bullet.
Shots fired.
Well played. That was the best shots fired drop ever. Why? You don't think you? If somebody
no, in the circumstances you laid out, if somebody was threatening my wife, my kids, no question, I'm going to do it. But it would be hard. I think it would be really hard. I don't think it would be as easy as I think.
I think it'd be hard after. I think once the deed is done, and then you've got to live with the stuff, and God forbid you're you end up hearing about the guy's family on the news or something like that, and you seeing his mom cry on TV and that. I'm sure that kind of stuff would be super hard to deal with. But in the moment, no. I mean, I feel like I'd have no hesitations.
I mean, it's interesting. So in my personal life, without going into too many details, I've had a situation in my life where I think a lot of people could have easily considered killing somebody, this person that crossed me. But I thought about, could I actually kill this guy? I mean, I don't think I could.
Right. I mean, I'm not psychopath. I'm not saying the guy cuts me off in traffic, I'm going to murder him with a dull rusty.
No,
something like that. But somebody's causing harm to you or yours. That's the line where it's clearly morally defensible to cause harm back to that person, right?
It's morally defensible, but could you still do it in the moment, I guess, is the question. It's interesting. I don't know that it's easy as everybody thinks.
I don't think it is either. I don't mean to trivialize it, but I mean, I just think, okay, would I kill somebody if I caught them pickpocketing me? No, of course not. Would I kill them because they're their ego and they spit on me or they called me a name or whatever? Of course, that's ridiculous. But I mean, I think there's as soon as you feel legitimate threat to your safety, I mean, that's what it is, right?
Yeah. All right, so let's move on. Roscoe, what do you got?
Got a quiz here.
Go.
No guns, just quizzes.
Just a quiz. What's the number one training site for PLO players?
I know this one. I got this. I'm going to let Adam answer it, though.
Okay, I got it. It's PLOquickpro.com.
That's correct.
PLOquickpro.com is the number one training site for PLO players. It is the only site with an entire suite of PLO courses designed by WSOP bracelet winner John Beaupre and 5K PLO scoop winner and many times Supernova Elite Alien Slayer. Over the past few years, they've successfully taught more than 1,000 players how to master the fundamentals, increase their win rate, and move up in stakes for good. So whether you're a micro stakes grinder and you're trying to become a winner, you're already a winner and you're trying to make more money and move up to the mid stakes, and especially if you're a no-limit player and you're looking to make the transition to PLO, they've got videos, PDFs, and tutorials to help you plug leaks and look at the game in a new way. So if you'd like to learn the guaranteed fastest way to master the fundamentals, increase your win rate, and move up in stakes for good, visit PLOquickpro.com/pokercast to get your very own personalized PLO curriculum. You can also reach John personally to personalize that curriculum even more at john@PLOquickpro.com. I was just on the website, and I noticed that John has done some revamping. He's got a new site layout there, so that's nice. Yeah, check out PLOquickpro.com.
Perfect. Coming up after the break, we're going to talk to Brian Slick about the World Championship of Online Poker. We're going to come back also after that and talk about some hands, some Roscoe Report, and we've got some emails, stuff to get to. You're listening to the 2+2 Pokercast. Keep it right here.
Hey, poker fans, don't forget about the 2plus2.com digital magazine. Each month, a wide array of poker professionals and media write fascinating articles about the game you love. Want to learn about big blind versus small blind hand ranges? How about optimal Jeopardy daily double strategy? Topics like those and many others are covered every month. Head on over to 2plus2.com to see what the magazine has to offer this month. Attention everyone not named Alan Kessler. Have someone you would love to appear on the Pokercast? Have someone you don't want to hear again on the Pokercast? Head on over to the Suggest a Guest thread in the Pokercast forum at 2plus2.com, and Adam will do his best to make you happy. P.S. Chainsaw, you can post too. Okay, people, most of the kittens have perished. There are a few left you can save, though, and here's how to do it. Get involved with the Pokercast by emailing your questions, suggestions for the show, or even record a sound clip. Adam will be using the best ones on the air. Well, let's face it, probably the worst ones as well. I can see you there at your computer. Send an email right now. Totally disagree with one of Adam's takes last week? Send an email. Love last week's interview? Email. Want to know how much cash Adam has on him right now? Email. Pokercast at 2plus2.com is the address. Ship the funny to Adam today.
Welcome back to the 2+2 Pokercast. We're just waiting to connect with Mr. Brian Slick. But in the meantime, we'll jump into the mailbag.
And now.
That right there is the mail. Now let's talk about the mail. Can we talk about the mail, please, Mac? I'm dying to talk about the mail with you all day, okay?
Mailbag. Email number 1.
Hey guys, Troy from Houston here. Exactly 4,527 miles from Kells. We like kilometers, by the way. Miles are not a Canadian thing. Recently played the following hand, and I'm on the button with 1,800. I pick up the ace-4 of clubs. The main villain opens for the table standard of 40. He has 1,700. 2 callers. I call. Small blind also calls. The flop is 9-3 deuce with 2 clubs. I have a gutter to a 5, overcard, and the nut flush draw. The villain bets 120 into 200, 2 folds, and I strongly consider raising. I'm flipping against an overpair, 30 to 70 dog against a set. I call, as does the small blind. The turn brings the ace of hearts. So it's now ace, 9, 3 deuce. Now I have top pair, gutter, nut, flush draw. The blind checks. The main villain bets a healthy 400 into 560. Here's where I feel stuck. I hate to play make a hand poker, but decided I just call. Surprisingly, so does the small blind, who has us covered. Now there's now 1,700 in the pot. I've pretty much decided I'm folding unless a club or a 5 hit the river. The river is a red 4, gives me 2 pair. The blind checks. The main villain bets the same 400 as he did on the turn. Strange, very small bet. Is my 2 pair good? Bigger question, could I rep a 5? Could he fold a set after putting 2/3 of his stack in? Can I fold? P.S. Special thanks to Terrence and Ross for all in our knocked out series. It was amazing. I listened to the entire series, even though I knew the results before listening to any of it. It actually made it more interesting hearing the comments, etc. All right, so on to the hand.
That's correct.
I'm going to say I like the play pre. I like the play on the flop. I don't think raising that flop is... I don't know, T, what do you think of raising the nut flush draw gutter flop on the 9-3 deuce flop?
I think it's fine. I like either way you play it. The stacks... I like the stacks I like raising more if the stacks are deeper or shallower. Like if it's shallow, you just get it in right away. But he has, the 1,700 effective is a very large stack to pot ratio at that point. So I mean, actually, yeah, raising isn't that bad either because, you make it like 300. Yeah, I mean, maybe not. I think calling there is fine. It also has the benefit of allowing people to make second best nut flushes if that's possible, or do things like make a straight when you make a flush. So I'm good with calling.
Yeah, and I think if you raise there, you're either sticking your hand on your forehead, that I've got kind of the nut flush draw here, or are you going to raise on this kind of dryish board of 9-3 deuce with middle set, or are you going to wait for the turn? That kind of thing. I like the flat on the
Well, that's why it is very style dependent, right? Like if you are going to raise with your sets, then you also have to raise with your combo draws. And if you're going to flat with your sets, then you also flat very often with a lot of your combo draws. I mean, this is sort of the idea behind balance.
So the turn brings the ace, and the guy still bets 400 into 560, bets 3/4 pot, which I thought was an interesting bet size there with the ace that rolls off. He's repping a pretty big hand here, given that he had 2 flats of his bet on the flop. I'm thinking at this point, I might be folding at that spot. Or maybe call fold to any more action type thing. I think that bet sizing is pretty big there.
I'm not folding. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the times this guy's going to have a set or ace-9, but I'm not. Yeah, I feel like I still have too much hand to fold at this stage.
And then the river rolls off. He makes 2 pair, and the villain bets a small 400 into 1760. Doesn't seem like a bluff very often, given that he's giving people 4-1 or whatever on the call.
Seems like I don't really know what I'm supposed to do now, but
yeah, it seems like I've got a really big hand, so I'm betting anyway, kind of thing.
Or it could just be like a very medium hand that I feel like the person who makes this bet probably isn't very good, and you just pay it off.
I don't think he's folding to any raise. I think that was one of Troy's questions. Is he going to raise if I can rep a 5 on the river? It's a 1-card straight, right? I don't know, how.
I mean, I like the thinking there. It's not inconceivable that people, when people make these smallish bets, it's actually like too large to be a blocker bet, probably, or maybe it is a blocker bet. And yeah, I mean, the thing that we do know is this guy doesn't have a straight. Like that's the one thing we absolutely know. He doesn't have the 5-6. He doesn't even have a 5. So it's not unreasonable to bet. But I mean, the problem is you've got a player behind you. So I don't like getting these two are like getting too creative in the 3-way pots. That's sort of that's my thinking here, because you've still got a player to act behind you. So I don't think I jam here. I mean, this is like the kind of thing where if somehow got here with pocket 6s, you might make the blocker shove or something like that. But yeah, I kind of feel like I just want to fold.
Me too. But you're getting 4.5 to 1. It's crazy. All right, we've tracked down Brian. We'll get back to some emails later. Add Brian in, and let's do this thing.
Okay.
The premier online poker series is quickly approaching. We talked about it last week. The 15th edition. 15. I remember, I think I even final tabled like in the first couple of years. Remember Donald won a bunch of events. It seems like, I don't know, a couple of years ago, but this is the 15th edition of the World Championship of Online Poker. It's 16 days away. And, Stars doesn't sponsor the show anymore, but we're still fortunate enough to have Stars head honcho of MTT events as a Skype contact. So I bothered him earlier today and asked him to join us. Welcome back to the Pokercast, Mr. Brian Slick.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Really good. Let's talk about the World Championship of Online Poker. Obviously, you've been working hard at it. I read somewhere where you had several iterations of the series, and I know you guys take a lot of feedback. 82 events, more than $50 million in guaranteed prize money. I wanted to quickly just touch on the amount of events before we move on, Brian. I think it's an interesting topic. When you talk about live events, you've got all these issues with hotel stays, people away from work. All that is all going to go into how long the World Series is or how long an EPT event is. But when you're playing, online poker from your, in underwear on your couch or after whatever, it seems like there's not the sort of cap on the number of events as you would with a live event. So how do you go about deciding, okay, that's enough?
Well, there's a couple things that go into it. One, we don't want the series to be so big that the excitement is diluted to the point. We could run 150 events if we wanted to, but beyond a certain extent, let's say you start to dilute the excitement. It basically, you start trivializing what you're doing. So the series has grown significantly since it started. My first one was WCOOP 2006, and that was 18 events. And so this is now my 11th series. And it's, in that time it's gone from 18 to 23 and 33 and so on and so forth. But the series has steadily grown, and in large measure it's grown as the geographic reach of the players that are interested in the series has grown. And one of the most significant ways it's grown this year is by opening it up more to players in Asian markets. Because we noticed that, particularly in SCOOP 2016, that we were getting a significant amount of play from players in the Pacific Rim. And they've been asking for a lot of COOP attention in the last few years, but SCOOP 2016 was one of the first times that it really stuck out, that they were not only asking for that kind of attention, but they were demonstrating with their play that we could actually start focusing events on them with events that started in their prime time. So for WCOOP this year, we've got a few events that if you were to look at the calendar, you'd look at the calendar and go, what the heck's going on? There's an event starting at 4 o'clock in the morning Eastern, which would be unheard of a few years ago. But that's in the evening time in Australia. So, I spoke on 2+2 with some players asking them, what's prime time for starting a tournament Friday night or Saturday night in Australia? And got 6, 7, 8 p.m. as a response, and so there we go. And the other thing is, we've expanded with the weekend events. We have 4 and 5 events on Saturdays and Sundays now. So the series just has continued to grow. This is actually trimmed down from version 1 of this year's schedule, which had 90 events. But we pulled that back a little bit. We decided not to grow the series quite that much this year. And the other thing about that is a particular distinction with WCOOP is it's really a couple of series within a series, in that we have the high roller events. So we have 82 events, but we have usually 4 or 5 or 6 of them per series that are really out of reach for the majority of the players. 95% of the players are not going to play in the $10,000 events, and I would say 99.5% of the players are not playing in the $102,000 tournament that we'll be running in this series. So yeah, there's 82 events, but for 149,995 of the players that'll be playing, there are 81 events.
Okay, let's talk about some of the new things. One of the things that I thought was interesting, Brian, was the mini WCOOP. And I think I remember asking you, with all this, maybe it was a year ago or 2 years ago, we were talking about the scoop success, and would this model ever be moved over to the World Championship on Poker? And while you could say that this really isn't anything because it's 100th. The buy-ins for the mini WCOOP are 1/100th of the actual World Championship buy-ins, but it's almost a little bit of a scoop effect, isn't it?
No, absolutely not. This is absolutely. I'm really glad you asked this because this is something that's really important to stress. The mini WCOOP, actually, I wouldn't mind if it had a different name because it's one of the things that we've been clearing up repeatedly since we announced that we were going to do it. It's not a stakes level of WCOOP. It's not related to WCOOP directly in that way at all. One of the reasons it's separated so much in buy-in is specifically to avoid any overlap in terms of players choosing to play a mini WCOOP event over a WCOOP event, or even over a WCOOP satellite. So, when the fact that mini WCOOP was going to exist was announced, had quite a few players annoyed with the 1/100th ratio and asking for 1 in 10. And I pointed out that if we had a 1/10th buy-in, then we would have the issue of crossover and players choosing between the two, and that would be scoopifying WCOOP, which is not something that we're going to do. And, if we had mini WCOOP events, at $11 for a 109 WCOOP event or $100 for a $1,000 WCOOP event, and not only would we have players making choices on which events they were going to play, but the satellites for the actual WCOOP events would be competing head-to-head with mini WCOOP events.
Right.
Which is definitely not something we want to do. The mini WCOOP series is a companion series, which, like I've said in everything that I've typed up so far for this and all the promotional stuff that's coming out for this, is specifically it's a companion series designed to basically spread the excitement for people for whom WCOOP is out of reach, who are most likely, if they're not ever going to play in it, then maybe they'll play in it, once in 5 years because they want a satellite or a mega pack or something like that. But, for whom playing in WCOOP is not a regularity. And we would just want to give them the opportunity to enjoy the excitement because they say the tournaments are going to be the same. It's the same sorts of structures. The schedule is going to be identical in everything but buy-in and guarantee. And we really hope players have a good time. But like I said, there's not going to be a leaderboard. The results don't count towards anything to do with the main WCOOP. No prizes or anything like that. Just some nice micro-level to low buy-ins. And a $50 main event was the one concession that we made in terms of any sort of high buy-in. But it's a $50 main event while we've got a $5,000 main event in WCOOP proper.
Good. Fair enough. Let's talk about how to bring casual play. The experience for the casual player who looks at the World Championship of Online Poker says, hey, I want to play in a couple of these events. Mm-hmm. There's a bunch of different ways to do it. One of them I noticed was the phase tournaments. They start, and this year, I believe Stars did them, it was the first year last year, mm-hmm. and it was the first event I believe was a phase event. This year you have 2 phase events. The first one's 109 with a $1 million guarantee. This is a place where that casual player can win a satellite to get into a phase kind of thing and get himself in that $1 million guarantee tournament.
Yep, absolutely. We've done phase tournaments now in this will be the 4th consecutive championship series that we've done phase tournaments. Like I said, we started it with WCOOP 2005 in event 1. That one was really successful, a $1.7 million prize pool. we then did it again in T-Coop with not quite the same success, as you may remember. And a few lessons learned there. We did it again in Scoop with 3 different levels of phase tournaments, which were incredibly successful. And so building on a year's worth of lessons, we're bringing them back again. And like you say, this time we're running 2. One at the start of the series and one towards the end, both 109s. One of the differences this year is that we're running more phase 1s, or day 1s rather. They'll be properly titled as day 1s. And it'll be 26 day 1s per day 2. And we'll have 2 different day 2s this year, one for each phase, one for each event. And one of the differences this year is that for the second phase event, the day 2 is actually on Sunday instead of the last day 1 being on Sunday. So, for all the people who have been telling us for a while now that when we have a big day 2-day event like this, we know it's a big populist event with lots of casual players who want to be able to play over the weekend, that they prefer to play the second day on a Sunday. Well, here's their chance. So, like I said, the final day 1 will actually be on Saturday, and the day 2 will be on Sunday. So the tournament should be wrapping up Sunday night, and we'll be able to see how that one does. So that should be quite exciting. Between the 2 of them, those tournaments should pay out more than about, I'm guessing, a little bit shy or a little bit north of $3 million from them.
Last year we had a super high roller, $50,000 buy-in. I guess it was a success. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but we're going to $100K buy-in this World Championship of Online Poker. I'm thinking, wow, that's got to be, first of all, I'm sure that's the largest buy-in ever in online poker. And what kind of field? I mean, I didn't see the guarantee on it. I didn't look, but what kind of field would you expect for, say, a $100K buy-in?
Well, we had 46 players in the 50K, 51K last year. And we did really extensive surveying over the last couple of months of our nosebleed stakes players, asking them, what would they be most likely to play if we put it out there. Basically asked them a lot of questions. If we put this out there, would you be quite likely to play it, quite likely to not play it, you definitely play, those sorts of questions, the 1 to 5, tick a box, which one fits you. And so we asked them if they play 100K, a 200K, 50K, all that sorts of thing. And we came out in the end with the 100K no limit hold'em, and we also added this year a new one, a 21K PLO. Those are the 2 big new ones this year. The 21K PLO should also be quite big. As for the size of the field in the 100K, it's really hard to predict, but I won't be too surprised if we get at least 4 tables going. And interestingly enough, this was one of those cases where we actually moved the tournament, or an event rather, based on feedback from one player. One of our extreme high rollers is getting married on the day that we originally had the tournament, or the event scheduled for. And we found out about this, and 7 of the other players who we expect to play in the 100K are either serving in his wedding or going to be guests at the wedding. So that would be 8 players in a $100,000 field. So yeah, we said, yeah, okay, we'll move it. So we moved it back a week to make sure that we didn't conflict with the wedding.
Probably the first time that's ever been done on a World Championship of Online Poker schedule, I guess.
Well, when you're talking about a field measured in dozens, if you're going to miss 8 people, that's probably a good idea.
2 Players' Choice events this year. I think we moved from 1 to 2, including a No Limit Hold'em choice and a non-No Limit Hold'em choice. Obviously, those were a big success, and you got lots of feedback. It was a good result for Stars in the last choice events.
Yeah, we did these in Scoop, and basically realized that the only way we're ever going to get a no limit hold'em option out there is if we specify that we have a player's choice event where no limit hold'em isn't one of the choices that's possible. So we decided for WCOOP to have 2 player's choice events, one where people can pick whatever variant of no limit hold'em they want, and then the other one where it's whatever you want as long as it's not some version of no limit hold'em. I'd be really interested to see what's picked. I think a lot of people have theories on what it'll be. Probably, I think most people think it'll be some version of Omaha, probably PLO or NL08, but we'll see. I think that's probably the case too, but you never know. It could be anything. Could be
nominations open next week. Is it going to be nominated on 2+2, or are you going to take emails? How does it work?
It will be taking emails. There'll be an announcement next week. Nominations will be open for a week, and then voting will be open for a week. And then we'll deploy the voting booth tournaments after nominations close. It'll be the same process as last year, where we'll collect nominations, and then I will lock myself in a room and tally them up, and then create tournaments on the site by which players will vote for their favorite by registering in a tournament which represents their favorite. The voting booth tournaments will actually cost $215 to register, so you'll need $215 in your account to vote. But once the choices have been made and the voting is over, the tournaments that were used for the voting process will be destroyed and the money will be returned. So there's no issue there.
And also back on the bringing casual players in, I like the return of the $320 buy-in levels. But I did want to ask you about the fact that Stars has eliminated the bracelet. I guess winning if you win an event, in the past you got a bracelet. Was that based on player feedback, or what was the impetus there?
Well, the impetus there was several things. You talked about casual players, and then you mentioned the bracelets. And it's a really interesting dichotomy there, because one of the things that we realized is, looking back over the years, we intended the bracelets to be a significant thing that players would really be going after when they were playing WCOOP. And throughout extensive surveying and talking to players and whatnot, we learned, and I know I'm going to get email responses to this saying, you're wrong, it was a big motivation for me. But in terms of, for the masses, in terms of widespread appeal, chasing a bracelet just wasn't motivation for the players that we talked to. Winning an event, winning lots of money, that was the motivation, but actually just specifically going after a bracelet, it wasn't the motivator that we had hoped. The players, by and large, did not regard them the way that we had been hoping that they would. And at the end of the day, when you're talking about, on an annual basis, a field of 150,000 players, and annually making a significant investment in 70, or 62 or 45, whatever it is in a given year, how many events there are, you're making that investment in 0.03 or 0.04% of the overall players for something that's not working. So it just, in the end, like I mentioned on 2+2, the decision was a lot easier than it seemed it was going to be when it was first brought up. So, like I said, I know that some people, when they read the blog post where it was announced, weren't happy. But, I'll be honest, I wasn't too pleased when it came up. But over time, as we discussed it, it began to make sense, and the decision was made, and here we are.
Fair enough. No worries. I think it's going to be a smashing success. The schedule is exciting. I think if you want to read up on it, head on over to the Pokerstars blog. I believe it's over there. There's a thread at 2+2 also for people to discuss the schedule. So if you're interested in the upcoming World Championship Online Poker, lots of stuff to read about. Thanks, Brian. Really appreciate it. Good luck in the series, and we'll see how it goes.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right, T, you going to play in any World Championship of Online Poker 2016 events? What's your
So I just looked at the schedule. Yeah, once the fight is over, won't be participating in the Player's Choice event number 2, since that is the exact day of the fight. So
you could be like Michael Phelps. You could be like,
just in the back. Yeah,
you could be single tabling on your phone while you're getting the Vaseline.
You could hand it off to Sorel mid-fight.
Yeah, exactly. Going to Sorel in the audience and then come back and pick it back up. Yeah, exactly. Nobody would ever see it. Nobody would ever notice that Unassigned is playing poker while he's literally getting hit in the face. That would be pretty epic. But no, I checked it out. Bryan conveniently slotted in the fixed limit hold'em for 2 days after the fight, so it'll be good. I've got 48 hours to recover from any brain damage that I might have suffered during the event, and of course, I think the main. I don't know if we covered what day the main is. I'm trying to look it up real quick here. I don't know if you have it. September 25th, so it'll be exactly a week after. So yeah, I'm excited. I'll play the back half of the World Series, the back quarter maybe.
So weddings and MMA fights are all getting scheduled around this year. I love it.
Yeah, like 8 people. I'm not quite a percentage of that percent. But I will say there are probably, if you scheduled the fixed limit hold'em during my fight, there'd at least be a couple people who would have some conflicts. Yeah. And people might show up to the fight, and I got some friends who might be showing up to the fight who.
Well, they might actually travel to Vancouver for the fight because they can also play in the 10K limit hold'em.
You live in the United States, yeah, but you can't have it on that night. So Bryan already realized the guru that he has realized in advance that he couldn't schedule that one for before the fight.
Before we get back to email, I want to some quick shout outs. We've got a lot of reviews coming in on iTunes. Really appreciate that. Please keep on doing that. That bumps us up in the rankings. Way above par, Sum, Rich Ola, JJ 113674 Deep Lover. That's my favorite username. Troy and Monkam, thanks so much, you guys, for your reviews. Really appreciate that. Please help us out if you haven't done it yet, and head on over there. Shoot us a review. Let's get back to the mailbag.
Email number 2.
Michael from Adelaide, the number 2 city in the world, I believe. Congrats on the new sponsor. Oh, by the way, somebody was asking us about Sharkscope and when they're coming on board. September is when we are starting. They're producing some ads and doing some stuff. I think we're going to start with them very shortly. Michael goes on, would Roscoe prefer to make love to 365 of the most beautiful women in the world and die in 12 months? Or
did you just edit that email?
Yeah, you did.
You did. I caught him. Let's read that. How about you know what? I read email number 2. I read email number 2. Michael from Adelaide writes. Michael from Adelaide. Thank you, Michael, for writing in. Writes, congrats on the new sponsor. Would Roscoe prefer A, make love to the 365 most beautiful 17-year-olds and die in 12 months, or B, live to 80? Roscoe, your answer without sending yourself to jail.
I like the way I edited it.
Why is that?
I don't know. I've got a daughter.
Okay. Yeah.
Terrence is fired up.
Well, okay, yeah. Well, I was going to answer this the way that he wrote it.
You should answer it. You should answer it the way you should answer it the way that Adam said it, just so you don't go to jail. But yeah.
Well, I'm pretty sure
it's not illegal in British Columbia.
First of all, I'm pretty sure the age of consent is like 16. But that aside, right. The age of being a creep is probably over 21.
How old are you, Ross?
25.
So half your age is 12 and a half plus 7. That's 19 and a half. That's.
I would only be comfortable with girls who are like in university. That's where I'll draw the line.
So let's edit it to that. Which one are you're going? Are you living to 80 or?
Well, no. I mean, I would also. Having sex with 365 17-year-olds
it's making love.
Okay, yeah. Making sweet out of marital love with 365 17-year-olds would be like 365 awkward, clingy sexual experiences.
Wow, you're really thinking
you're really complicating this.
So
I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
I mean,
17-year-olds don't know what they're doing. I'd rather have sex with make love to 17 365-year-olds.
You're going to have that opportunity in about 60 years when people live forever. Would Terrence prefer a one by one en route 2-meter tattoo? I don't know what that means. a 1x1 en route 2-meter tattoo of Pythagoras rectangle on his back, solid black, or B, a tattoo of PHJR forever on his Johnson.
What is this?
I'm thinking
I'm
that's a lot of letters to get on a Johnson.
I'm not getting a penis tattoo regardless.
So A, whatever A means. Okay.
Yeah, by default. I mean, I don't know if I have 2 square meters. I mean, I'm not that big of a person again, so I don't have 2 meters on my back to give you. 2 meters is 6.5 feet.
Would Adam prefer A, time travel to 1999 with a $1 million bankroll, knowing what he knows now about poker, or B, live life as is and receive $10 million on his 60th birthday? Oh, Jesus, $10 million, easy.
Really?
I'm good with the 10 mil.
You go to 1999 with a $1 million bankroll, and you don't think you have $10 million by now?
I mean, I could still lose. I have a guaranteed $10 million in 12 years.
You have a guarantee. You have. Oh no, you got it.
I could easily go bankrupt with $1 million in 1999 trying to play high stakes poker.
100, 200? Like no, like just go play 100, 200 limit hold'em and win. Yeah, exactly. And like you might even get into the Andy Beal game, sell off some action. Oh my God, like you would have so much money with a $1 million bankroll in 1999.
Maybe you got a point there. Okay, if I was smart enough to play bankroll appropriate games, then I'll take the 19. All right,
I feel like if I traveled to, like the current me traveled to 1999 with a $1 million bankroll, I would have a $10 million bankroll by 2002.
Yeah, I think the optimal wouldn't be playing 100, 200 limit hold'em. I think it would be learning no limit hold'em really quickly, or I guess knowing what I know now, studying more and even getting better at it.
No limit doesn't become big until 2003, but. Yeah, I mean, I guess I see your point, but yeah, because don't forget you have to wait for Moneymaker and all that.
Yeah.
So this sort of alternate universe. So there's no limit games to speak of in 2000, but you could just get good at all the limit variants, play the mixed game. You would you don't think you would crush like 2000 like Jennifer Harmon, John Jawanda, Doyle, Chip Reese, etc.
Now that I think about it more, I'd rather travel back to 1999 just for the extra 17 years of life I get. I get to relive 17 years.
I get try to spend a little less time in the poker room, ironically, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Just take the $1 million. Don't even play any poker.
Yeah. Just like start a poker website.
Certainly the best hypothetical of the three.
Yeah, you got the non-fucking weird question.
I get penis tattoos, and Ross gets STD questions, basically.
The penis tattoo I know a guy whose first tattoo was "That's nuts" on his nutsack.
Come on.
Yeah.
First tattoo. How drunk was he? You Bo and Ivan boys. You guys, when you guys drink, you take it seriously.
I don't know. He might have been sober, but.
First of all, how do you get a tattoo on your ball sack?
Oh, we want to get into specifics now. Well, apparently what you do is you stretch that skin out over a Coke can.
Oh, a Coke can?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. What did it say on it?
That's nuts.
Oh, hilarious, actually.
Does he show this off at parties? Like,
Have you seen proof, or
I haven't seen proof, but I've just heard that it's confirmed. He's got other tattoos too that are kind of stupid. So,
can this guy be on the show? I want a 15-minute discussion about how he got a ball sack tattoo.
As long as it's audio only.
All right.
Email number 3.
Daniel writes, and by the way, Daniel is our resident Pokercast haiku expert. He was a little upset about. I'm going to paraphrase a little bit. He was kind of. Remember, we talked about his haiku from episode 420. Spin and go winner proves tournaments can't be beat. Everything's solid. Of course, the guy's name was Solid Penis. I missed that one. We kind of questioned his haiku-ness, his haiku ability there. He was a little upset. Yikes, I was so proud of my 420 haiku, and that's the one you all diss? 3 things. Haiku traditionally has 3 parts, 1 required and 2 optional. The required is 17 syllables in a 5-7-5 pattern. The other 2 are a tendency to incorporate nature and a hidden meaning that is revealed either in the last line or upon reflection. No rhyme scheme, no prescribed rhythm. So yeah, it was a realish haiku. Think about the comments. a couple of years ago that No Limit couldn't be beat because everybody's solid, and then read the sit and go winner with the solid penis name, then reread. A teacher once told me that any poem that had to be explained was not a good poem. So yeah,
that's correct.
He also asks, correct. How can you have Ansky on and not mispronounce his name at least once? Which I thought was pretty funny. Ross, you made it to
zero Danny Stearns given.
I posted in the thread. I only mispronounce it because when I'm reading, like when we're talking to him on Skype, I can see his name right in front of me, and my dumb ape mind just says Danny, so I say it out loud. But when I see him in person, I don't do that.
Email number
004. Hit my Jones up on the low.
Lewis Reitz motherfucking Jones writes, what exactly do we think Federer means when he says he's retired? Isn't he signed to the LA Sunset team in the GPL? Forgive my ignorance if this is a stupid question. Love the show. I think he probably just means flying all around the world, in different places, nonstop tournament grinds, following the 100Ks around, EPTs, things like that, and picking and choosing some of the events that he plays while he decides what he's going to want to do the rest of his life.
Yeah, I don't think a retirement necessarily means like he's never going to pick up another, like another card in his life. That being said, looking at his Twitter right now, 6 hours ago, Crown Up Guy tweets, arrived safe and sound in Barcelona. So he's there, like everybody else arriving for the EPT Barcelona. But then it says, beach greater than sign casino this time. So we'll see. We'll see. The jury's still out on Fedor Holtz's retirement, and we'll see.
Email number.
It's number 5.
Bo writes, from Houston, Texas, 3,900 kilometers from Kells. My question is on cheating. I think most everyone has heard the stories of a certain Asian pro employing players to take tournament chips from their own stacks and give them to him on breaks in order to build his stack illegally and unethically, or soft play him when at the same table. I've heard this story in others, but actually never witnessed it myself. I've been coming to the WCOOP every summer since 2006 to play one $1,500 event a year and a couple deep stacks. So while my individual summer sample sizes are low, I've still seen a decent amount of tournament poker over the last 10 years. So on to my question. The summer after I busted day 2 of the WSOP event number 6, I decided to enter one of the afternoon's deep stacks. After playing for a while in the 10 seat, I noticed the dealer counting down the stub several times while there are a couple players tanking on the river. After the third time counting on the stub, he calls the floor over and says, "Hey, this deck is sticky," and hands it over. I take great interest in this odd conversation and proceed to watch this floor take the deck to the empty table behind me and start separating the cards by suit until he got to a second ace of spades. He puts the second ace of spades in his coat pocket and hands the deck back to the dealer. I get up and follow him as he walks away and say, "Hey, what the heck was that?" He just stares at me and I say, "We've been playing with 53 cards. How do you deal with that?" He says, "Unless it came up during a hand, nothing." From there, I drop it and go back to the table and can't help but wonder, was there a cheater at my table? Was this some sort of honest mix-up? I doubt it, but how could you prove anything? Anyway, this is my one and only example of this over 10-plus bracelet events, multiple deep stack events that I've entered. Wondering what you would have done. Have you ever had something blatant and crazy like this come up before? Keep up the good work. That's an interesting one. What are your thoughts, Adam?
My first thought is I hate the fact that they have some sort of code for the fact that this deck is bad. Like, this is sticky clearly means to this floor man that we have one too many cards, instead of saying, hey, this is a bad deck or something like that. They're actively trying to keep people from knowing what happened. That bothers me to begin with, that you would have that kind of code. Second of all, this kind of stuff happens occasionally. As this person says, first time he's ever seen it. I've had situations where a dealer fanned out an entire deck before he was going to mix and shuffle, and it was all aces of spades.
Right. These are usually like defects at the manufacturer. These things can happen, and the other way it can happen is when at the end of the night when the table is closing down, the dealer finds out the cards, they sort them into piles, and then in the process of putting them away, you might just accidentally stick one extra in one, and then there's another deck somewhere out there that's missing an ace of spades. Yeah,
and card rooms will have piles of aces of spades, piles of deuces of diamonds, because what happens is when you have a marked card, you call the floor over, and say, hey, we got a mark on this card, whether it's intentional or non-intentional. The floor will take the deck, find the marked card, break it, bend it and break it, and then replace it with another card. They're going to throw the whole deck out. They're going to find the exact same card and put the deuce of diamonds back in and have a fresh deck. So they'll have piles of deuces of diamonds or aces, whatever. So occasionally one of those piles maybe gets its way into a deck, whatever. So I've seen that happen before. It's very rare. I don't, if as far as cheating goes, and that was the topic of the email, I don't think people are going to have extra aces of spades and roll around and slide it into their hand for the very fact of you can get caught quite easy, because if you have, they have security cameras, and if you have an ace of spades and one comes on the flop or somebody else has one in a hand, it's, you're going to get caught. So I don't think that's a way of cheating. I don't think anybody was trying to cheat you. But it does bother me, the fact that they do use code words.
Yeah, they tried to sneak it under the table, and this floorman was very dismissive. I mean, I think as a poker player, you have a right to the integrity of your game and understanding it, and you deserve an honest answer. And if I didn't like the answer that floorman gave me, I would have asked to speak to the supervisor of that area, and if required, go all the way up to Jack, make if you weren't comfortable with it, then you should make a big deal at a time. But I mean, it was just as likely to be the ace of spades as it was to be the five of clubs, but the ace of spades happens to, be a very significant card. I mean, I guess it's not more likely, because when you're sorting by suit, it's much easier for like an extra ace to just accidentally slip in there, like you said, because it's the first card off, or I don't know if it's the last card, is it the bottom card or the top card, the ace of spades? I guess it's the bottom card on a sorted deck. But anyway, good email.
Email number
6.
Frank writes from Ohio, 3,433 miles from Kel's. Since there's been some Tinder talk lately, I thought I'd throw the story in. I met a girl on Tinder and took her out to a nice dinner. Well, talking about her past, it came up that I used to play online poker for a living. She responds with, I love going to the casino. Let's go tonight. I had hearts in my eyes.
Legit.
As I looked at this short, stunning blonde that just told me on our first date we should go to a casino. She's just a penny slot player, but if that's what she likes, good for her.
You're almost certainly going to lose money.
I sit with her a while, then I go and run 500 into 3K playing blackjack. Being about the time we agreed to leave, I decided one more hand and bet 1,000. Of course, she walks over and her mind is blown. Clearly, I get aces split against a dealer 6, and I lose both hands. Hey, I left up $500. In my head, that's great for a negative EV gaming and having a fun date. Here's the problem. The local casino is a 35-minute drive with someone who can't shut the fuck up about saying, you lost $2,000 in 20 seconds at least 10 times. And he's got the emoji with a gun to his head. I never spoke to her again. Where's the James Bond ejection seat when you need it? Love the show. You guys are great.
Hold up. Can we just talk about this a little?
Yeah.
I mean, am I crazy, or is... Okay, I mean, what's your thoughts on this matter, Adam? Is the girl crazy for overreacting to this dude?
Yeah, of course she is. Well, she's not crazy in that her experience is playing penny slots.
That's the point.
So
most people don't see people bet $1,000 a hand on.
She should also be intelligent enough to, you would hope, that she could see both sides of the coin. Holy shit, that's 2,000, but this guy is here for fun. It's not going to change his life probably, and he's just happy to, he was up the money, so to speak, whatever.
You and Frank have been in the poker world, hanging around gamblers for too long. Regular people lose their minds when they see people gamble on $1,000. Like it's a crazy amount of money to them. Like it's
okay.
If anything, I think if anything, this one's totally on Frank. And I'll say, I mean. I'm not single anymore, but when I was single, I had a rule. If I'm going out on a first day with a girl, I decidedly behave in a way that is not baller, right? So like I make an explicit effort, and this is basically just to sort of, weed out any potential like gold diggers or just people who are like too big on the high or just assume a lifestyle or any of this kind of stuff. So. I mean, if I were there, I'm betting $10 a hand on blackjack. I'm betting $20 a hand, maybe.
No, I'd want to pull my hair out. I couldn't do it.
I'm not. You're there for the girl. You're not there to gamble. You're there to meet like this girl that you're into. Like.
Yeah, but it's a good weeding out process.
You want to go play? It's not a good weeding out. So you're saying a girl's not dateable unless she like thinks that it's totally normal to like drop a dime on a hand of blackjack?
Yes. If his financial situation is that it's reasonable, then it's fine. Look, I lucked out. My wife was in the investment industry, so when we got together and I'd be, playing poker and I'd come home and I'd have lost a couple of thousand, she's like, oh, okay, well, I mean, it didn't.
Right. And me too. Because, my girlfriend's played some poker, some low stakes. So she knows like that people kind of like build up their bankrolls and they start playing bigger and it's crazy. But like, I don't know. I still have a lot of, I hang around in MMA gyms all day where the people are crazy, and you could be like, yeah, well, when you actually have aces against a 6, you're, and you split them, you're like 70. I don't know what the EV is. It's really high, obviously. It's like, probably you're like, your average profit is 70% or whatever. Like people, unless they have a math or statistics or financial background, they're just not going to get that. And I don't think it's necessarily indicative that this girl is dumb or.
No, I'm not saying she's dumb. It's that you can talk to her if she's a reasonable person. So Frank said he's got a 35-minute drive. Well, he can, in that 35 minutes, explain bankroll appropriate gaming to her, right? And if she can't get that, why spend a month or 3 months or whatever investing in a relationship with somebody who's not going to get it, and all of a sudden it's going to be a complete nightmare?
Okay. I'm going to agree to disagree with you on this one.
Okay, so I got a story on this. This is funny.
Okay, all right.
Yesterday, both my kids are goalies in hockey. So this year they both outgrew their expensive equipment, and I had to go buy this piece of equipment for both of them. It was like $300. It was tilting me that I couldn't find anything used because, you want to get value for money, whatever. So my friend, his name's Ron, from the same guy that from the traffic court, the incident where our minds were blown. He texts me in the morning. He's like, I want to go to the casino, get lunch and go to the casino. And I had to drive by the casino to go to the hockey store. And I'm thinking, okay, here's what I'm going to do. For fun, I'm going to take a few $100s and try and win this $300 piece of equipment from the casino to see what happens. So we go.
You're almost certainly going to lose money
or whatever. I buy in for $500. Actually, I took $500. I buy in $500, and I'm goofing around. I'm betting, Pai-Gow. There's ties. It's kind of boring or whatever, right? You win, you lose, you win, you lose. You're down 5% each time you win. I think I was down to 400, and I got sick of it. I wanted to go, and I had to go. Like, it's just, I don't like playing. I don't want to spend 5 hours playing Pai-Gow, right? So I put the 400 on. Because I figured, I've got 400. I'll bet it. If I win, I got 800. I got enough to pay this. If I don't, but whatever, I'm leaving. So I put the 400 out there, and he looks at me like, what the hell are you doing? He's betting $25, $50, whatever. And I just shoved the 400 out there, and he thinks I'm a complete lunatic. So, but I ended up winning, so that was good.
He's clearly never going to get to go on a date with Frank.
Yeah. I guess
finish off the email. Let's get ourselves out of here.
That's a good email. I'll finish off. Love the show. You guys are great. I'm thrilled with the PLO talk. I still play a lot of live poker and hope one day Adam or Terrence can say my name and Ross can drop the he just won a poker bracelet. Oh, let's do that. Ross, you ready? Frank from Ohio just won the World Series of Poker main event.
He just won a poker bracelet.
All right.
Email number
7.
Jeremy says, hey guys, long-time listener, and so on. Non-poker question. I'm driving up from Portland to Victoria, British Columbia with my girlfriend for my anniversary. We've never been before. I know that's in your general area. Any suggestions on what to do or where to go? Please tell me it doesn't suck. I'll let you guys, I defer to you guys on this one. I spend most of my life here on the mainland. I don't get out to the big island too much.
I lived in Victoria for 2 years. I love Victoria. It's an awesome city. People are great. There's actually a really good nightlife scene in Victoria. I think it's probably better than Vancouver. Really? In my experience, yeah, I think it's a lot of fun to go out at night in Victoria. It's a big university government town, so a lot of people are, and it's an an outdoor town. Like there's whale watching, there's beaches.
Well, it's considered to be the best weather in all of Canada, right?
Yeah.
Like generally people think of Vancouver as the best weather of all Canada, but actually it's Victoria because they get less rain and less cold.
Well, they have no mountains surrounding. Like we have mountains in Vancouver,
Right.
and the clouds sit on the mountains and just pour. On the island, there's no mountains really. Well, there is, but they're north. So you have the clouds just kind of roll through it. They don't sit there and pour on you. But yeah, there's it depends. Does it suck? Well, it depends what you like to do. There's, like I said, there's awesome whale watching trips. You can go fishing. There's some outdoorsy kind of stuff you can do. You can go up to Souk, which is a little bit up the coast on the Pacific Coast side. That's just gorgeous. It's beautiful up there. The drive's nice. Again,
you have a restaurant recommendation for our friend Jeremy on his girlfriend's anniversary?
Well, I have 2 restaurant recommendations, depending on what kind of food you want. And it's our buddy Kaylin McNeil, the World Series of Poker bracelet winner from a couple of years ago. Kaylin owns 2 restaurants in Victoria.
He just won a poker bracelet.
One of them is called Zambri's. It's fantastic Italian food. We went to Scott Wilson and I went last time we were there and had dinner with Kaylin. It's really, really good Italian. One of the best restaurants. It's always ranked up there in Victoria. And if you like burgers in the Cook Street Village, head on over to Big Wheel Burger, which is Kaylin's take on the Shake Shack. He won't tell you, but they're very similar to Shake Shack burgers if you're an American, which I love too. So. Yeah, there's 2 good restaurants. But yeah, one of the things they always try and push you to in Victoria is the Bouchard Gardens. And if gardens aren't your thing, maybe give that a miss. But it's pretty cool. All right, let's move on to some 140 or less.
140 characters. That's it. I love hashtags. I love all of them.
Terrence Chan
needs more than 140 characters to express itself.
140 or less.
All right. Should I kick this one off?
Yeah. By the way, that was Tracy Morgan. He just did a great interview with Howard Stern. I don't know if you guys are Sirius XM subscribers, but Howard consistently has.
Neither of us own cars, so it's hard for us to be. Neither Ross or I own cars.
True. That's true.
Yeah, I don't get Sirius XM on the scooter that I putter around in this time. Yeah. I would, if I owned a car, I would definitely get satellite radio because like regular radio is just the nut low. So I feel you. Timex Mike McDonald 89 wrote, and we talked about this a little bit already. It said, fun fact, if the first EPT 10K had as many entries as this one, second place would pay more than first in this one. Obviously talking about the payout structures there. And
flat payouts.
And I got a 140 or less that I just sort of came across my feed like 2 seconds ago.
Okay.
And it's kind of a fun one because it's really a bit of a trivia question, but it's at ARK Blockchain, and so that name implies some sort of Bitcoin connection. If you dropped a Benjamin, 100 USD, on Bitcoin in October 2009, you would have this many dollars. Adam, how much you got?
Wow. 100 in 2009, presumably that's when they were very cheap. I'm going to say 120,000.
Ross, do you like the over or the under on 120,000?
92,000.
70.
Well, you just tilted the hell out of
trying to tilt that guy.
Yeah, well played. I didn't even get the reference right off of it. The correct answer, drum roll please, 75 million.
What?
Oh my god.
Yeah. So like Bitcoins are basically free back then, and so yeah, all you had to do. I mean, a dollar would, the implication would be $1 would be 750,000. So yeah, I mean, they were hard to get back then. Like it was, it's Bitcoin.
Holy moly.
And so it's interesting. It's like you didn't have to be rich in 2009. You just had to see the future.
I remember reading a story about a British guy, and this was a couple of years ago, who had a ton of Bitcoin, or not a ton. He had Bitcoin early, and of course it was on his old computer from years and years and years ago, and he'd thrown it out, or I think it was he'd thrown his computer out that he had the Bitcoin address on. That's the only place you can find it, and he dug through the dump to try and find, because it was apparently like 1.5 million in Bitcoin now. So he was literally looking through computers in a dump to try and find his old one because it was worth 1.5 million. That's a good story. At Jamie Kurtsetter, currently losing in a game where a guy is accusing the shuffle machine of cheating, which is pretty awesome. Yeah, you come across people like that.
Yep.
And
Russ,
then
wanna do the last one?
well, I there was some funny replies to that tweet. A guy named Dale Kerr said, "Do you have proof that he's wrong?"
I like that one.
And then
that might be better.
And then Cy Watson said, "Deckmate 1 or 2?"
Nice.
And then Ari Engel.
Do that one, Russ.
Ari Engel said, "I want to love at party poker, but really bad that they charge a monthly inactivity fee and threaten to steal my balance if I don't log in."
Yeah, that's not cool. You don't get
to
just
done that
take
for a long time.
Yeah, but I mean, it is ridiculous. I mean,
it is.
You can't just. You imagine that happened at the bank. It's like, oh, you locked up 50,000 here, and
they kind of do that. They take their service fee every month.
It's nothing more than a cash grab. All right, let's get into the Roscoe Report.
Good old Roscoe. Sure glad he's all right.
Listen, boy, you gotta pick your spots good. You gotta make hay while the sun shines. Hey, good. You dipstick!
It's time for a Roscoe Report.
All right, the PLO Quick Pro concept of the week this week, Ross, is?
Raising the turn.
Raising the turn. Okay, T, somebody in the emails asked if we could have Ross read the hand and us narrate what we would do street by street. I thought that would be interesting to do. So
Didn't we tried that last week and Ross screwed it up? No.
Yeah, but I think we didn't do it. We had him read the full hand instead of actually, talking about each street.
Let's stop on every street. All right.
Yeah,
I don't play well.
And talk every street. Don't look at the hands and read away, Roscoe.
I am.
Fishy.
We're playing 50 cent a dollar PLO Zoom on Pokerstars. I am the hero. I'm on the button. I am dealt the King 10-8-6 with the 10-6 of diamonds. The monster on the button. It's folded to me. I raise to $3, and I get 3-bet out of the big blind. So I have position. I call.
Let's talk about your hand. You have King 10-8-6 with the 10-6 of diamonds.
Yeah, we don't generally call that a premium hand in the PLOs.
I like it. I'm raising with this hand in this spot.
Well, yeah, I'm raising. The question is the 3-bet, and I think it's how deep are we here, Roscoe? Are we fairly deep?
176 big blinds.
Yeah, I guess dealing a flop is the worst thing in the world, but I mean, it probably depends a lot on this guy's 3-betting percentage and how well he plays post flop. But
I think I'm always calling with that hand there with 3-bets. I think. Yeah.
How bad can it be?
You might not call in a tournament where you're like 25 big blinds deep.
Sorry, no, absolutely not. Your point is valid when we're over 100 and whatever big blinds. Yeah.
Right. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So the flop comes Queen 9-4 rainbow.
Queen 9-4. So you again have King 10-8-6 with bad diamonds. It comes Queen 9-4 rainbow with a diamond. You have a gut shot to the nuts. And a gut shot. Do you have a gut shot to? No, you have a gut shot to the nuts.
Got some backdoor stuff. But basically, what I'm thinking here is, this is the kind of flop that it really favors my range. So he leads out 1278 into $20, and I peel him here.
Okay. I don't mind this at all. I agree with you. I think that hits your range. I think it also hits some big blind 3-betting ranges. I'd want to look at this guy's 3-betting out of position range and his history, because a lot of those King, Queen, Jack 10, King, Jack, Jack 10 type hands, King, King thing, is gonna 3-bet you a lot, which this range also hit, or this flop also hit. So I think
that was sort of my thought on it too. Yeah, and that's why I sort of lean towards a fold, is because you can definitely have a completely dominated draw here, right? Like he could just have King 10 with better stuff than you a lot of the time. So imagine being up against King Jack 10 and what a sort of equity disaster that is. I mean,
for sure.
I like floating people. Floating people is great, but I feel like this is maybe a little light. But that's me.
I think it's super dependent on that guy's 3-bet range, or 3-bet how often he 3-bets. If it's just like aces and kings only that he's 3-betting, I think I'm probably going to, if he has a wider 3-betting range, then I'm probably going to get rid of it here.
Yeah, I didn't have his statistic on, or I didn't have it up at the time of how much he 3-bets out of the big blind, but I think he had a pretty average 3-betting statistic for a player at this level. I think it was like 8 or 9%. So the turn is a 9, which pairs the board. Now the board is Queen, 9, 4, 9, with 9 of clubs on the turn, brings a flush draw, and pairs the board. The pot is $45, and he bets $18.78, so essentially a little bit less than half pot. And I don't like, I'm not a little bitch. I'm not going to just fold, so I raise.
I'm not sure why being a little bitch is folding, but yeah. I mean, so as played, this hand, yeah, I mean, I guess I don't mind this play too much on the turn because it's going to be hard for him to have a 9, I think. Not impossible, but it's, more in your range than his. Obviously if he has queens, you're in big trouble. But yeah, no, I mean, if he's got that aces and kings part of his range, he's probably going to fold here. So I don't mind this tee.
I think this is insanity and possibly like the worst PLO Quick Pro ad ever because if this is nuts. We're still talking I mean, I don't like this play at all.
Is he calling with aces? He bets less than half a pot. Let's give him aces or kings.
He's allowed to just. The other guy's just allowed to win the pot sometimes with the best hand. You don't have to try to steal everyone. Sometimes he's just gonna have a full house.
No, I'm not saying you're misunderstanding me. I'm not saying do this every time. I'm just saying part of your.
Well, we have no information. If we have, Ross just said, we have no information about the guy. So if we don't have any information about the guy, why are we making an exploitive play?
I mean, you're going to build history with the guy. So now, let's say you lose this pot. You're obviously he's going to have more history on you, that kind of thing. I mean, I don't hate it on the turn. I just think you could have a 9 a lot.
It is a pretty weak, pretty small bet. I perceived it as weakness, but. So what ended up happening was he just flatted me, and I was like, what the hell? And on the river, he shoved when a club came, and I folded.
So you're up against queens probably, or some hand like that.
Something like that. But
all right, we disagree with that one.
Was being creative, and lost some money. So in the next hand,
I think probably the place, and I think T and I probably agree on this, is on the flop is probably where you're going to get rid of that hand.
Yeah.
And T thinks obviously in the turn, but anyway, all right, let's keep going.
So in this hand, I am in the cutoff with $140, 140 big blinds, 50 cents a dollar PLO. I am dealt the 8-9 ace king with the king 9 of spades. It's folded to me. I raise to pot in the cutoff. The big blind calls me. The flop, $7.50 in the flop. The flop is 8-9 deuce. Pretty good flop for me. 1 spade. Rainbow with 1 spade.
Top 2 backdoor flush draw.
Mm-hmm. Big blind checks. I bet a little bit less than $5 into $7.50. I get check raised to $17.
Okay. So let's talk about this so far. T, what are your thoughts on the flop when he bets and gets raised there?
Okay, so the effective stack, I believe in this hand's $100. You've been check raised now to 17. So if you put in the next raise, you're definitely putting it all in. I prefer calling here because I think I think there's an adverse selection, right? So I think a lot of the times where you jam, obviously, yeah, like the wraps and all that kind of stuff will get it in, but so will the sets. I think, yeah, I guess there's enough bad cards that fall off on the turn that
right.
make you scare. So, yeah, I guess maybe. Okay, you're right. I might change my mind on that one.
I'm getting it in here.
Yeah, I think it's fine to get it in. Obviously, holding blockers to top 2 sets, and you don't expect people to have deuces kind of ever in this game, right? So, yeah, okay. I changed my mind. I'm fine getting it in.
Okay, so big blind checks. You bet. He raises. Ross, you call on the flop, right?
Yeah. So, I was kind of in between both of your lines of thinking that, I mean, I can't be doing amazingly well if I peel off one card. Maybe if the straights miss, then I become an equity favorite. Because if I do happen to just get it in against like 8, 9, 10 Jack, I'm just doing pretty horribly, I guess.
Well, yeah, you can always come up with a hand that you're doing horribly against.
Yeah.
Right, but the fact that he's check raising the flop, does look like he's trying to get it in. I mean, maybe people do make random stabs on a 9-8-2 flop, but I don't think it.
I think they do.
happens.
I think that's true. I think because that hits the big blind range more than the razor's range, I think you get a lot of people check raising in flops like this with hands that you're dominating.
Yeah. So the turn is the 5 of spades. It brings in the low straight, but also gives me a backdoor flush draw, and he leads out for like 99% pot. And since it fills the low straight, and it's not really a card that completes his nut heavy draws, I go ahead and put it all in there.
And he calls you. I think that's an excellent point. When the 5 rolls off, again, it's 9-8 deuce on the flop. He check raises you 5 on the turn.
It's one of the better cards for sure.
Yeah, I don't think there's a lot of 6-7s when you check unless it's specifically like 6, 7, 8, 9, 6, 7, 8, 8, or some hand like that where that's the way it goes. I think that's a much worse card is a queen or something like that, obviously. So I don't mind getting it in here. T, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't mind. I mean, I think calling is like clearly you have to put money into the pot. You just have too big of a hand not to put money. The only question is between whether you just raise, which he only has $50 behind or $40 behind rather. So he's committing himself. So the question is it better to play with position and maybe try to fold some rivers, you run like a big risk there, or if is there any chance that he bluffs it off, like he's just completely making this play with air and then you bluff it off again. So putting it in just can't be much of a mistake at all, and it's probably right.
Yeah, so the river bricks off. It's a 3, and I scoop the pot with my 2 pair, and he had 7, 8, 10 Jack with hearts. Yeah. So on the flop he was a 58% favorite, and on the turn he was a 30% dog. So it was
right. So you got your money in when you were the bigger favorite. However, as T said, let's say you just flat the turn, and then a brick rolls off, and then he bets 40 into 120, and you start thinking about folding, or that becomes catastrophic too, I guess.
Well, I mean, I was thinking ahead. I knew that I wasn't going to fold.
Well, I don't think there are that many cards that can come on the river that scare Ross enough to fold and yet don't actually make his hand, right? Like when he has a hand like Jack, like one of the monstrous wraps, most of the time the scare card is actually the card that got him there, unless it's maybe a deuce
or 5 or I mean, deuce interesting.
5,
yeah, good hand. I like that hand for discussion for sure.
Cool.
All right, that's going to wrap up the Roscoe Report and the show for this week. Thanks to everybody for joining us. Brian Slick for coming in, talking about the 2016 World Championship of Online Poker. T and Roscoe, thanks, guys, for setting aside some time in your day. And thanks to everybody for listening to our show.
I'd like to come out and be honest and say that this is the first podcast that I've done wearing only my package underwear.
It's awesome. Thanks.
Send us some more of my package, and
they're very comfortable.
There'll be more discussion about my package. Yeah, I've gone out and I'm I think I'm up to 15 pair of my package now.
Really?
Yeah, I still got the original ones, but I saved them for special occasions.
All right, so head on out. We're out of emails. We're fresh out of emails. No voicemails, no anything. Please send them in. Pokercast at 2+2. The Fantasy Football League, I believe, has room for 1 or 2 more. So head on over to the forum, sign up there. We're going to take 14 teams. Remco is going to join again this year. He backed out because he's already in too many. So somebody come in and take his place. $100 fantasy football through ESPN. That's going to start up quite soon. And post in the show thread. We're having some difficulty getting people over to the show thread. But
no, that's not how you said it. I've explained this to you before. Everybody's in the show thread. It's hopping. Edit that out.
Head over, please come and contribute. We need some feedback. I'm sorry, but it's all out there. My heart's on my sleeve. Please come on over. Appreciate everybody's time, and we'll talk to you next week.